Being someone who loves movies is really fun. Getting dressed up for a night out at your local AMC theater with a big bucket of popcorn in your hand is truly one of life's greatest pleasures.
Elaine, I hope you're watching the clothes because I can't take my eyes off the passion.
Discovering a new favorite movie off of a random pick at home can be a magical experience. And who doesn't like to go shopping for a really expensive 4K disc that you'll come home with and put on a shelf and probably not watch anytime soon? I know I do. But being a cinephile is hard work. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, and there's nothing harder than turning the TV on, picking out a movie, and sitting still for 90 minutes to 3.5 hours. I kind of feel like a NASA engineer or a rugged coal miner when I'm sorting through the endless barrage of movies on the streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Hulu, Disney Plus, Tubi, Freevee, Bleeby. You think an easy way to solve this issue would be going through the movies you have on disc in your collection, but you'd be wrong. I've spent so much money on movies only for them to just go on a shelf, sit there and kind of mock me. They're like teasing me, like they know I bought them on an impulse to just look cool and to give the room kind of a cool vibe. It really is a hard, thankless job at being someone into physical media, and I wear that badge with honor. Now I am being a little bit silly, obviously. Watching a movie is a hobby, it's a fun thing to do, but there are actual challenges that you'll face when watching movies.
No, I can't do this anymore. I can't. It's too long.
By far the biggest hurdle is that there is simply not enough time to see everything. Knowing you'll never be able to see every movie released is honestly a scary, sobering thought. You only have so much time to spend it wisely. This is why I think a great way to approach this hobby or lifestyle is by following a specific director. I think a lot of people assume the best way to become more knowledgeable about film and to grow as a cinephile is by keeping tabs on certain actors. This is definitely a good strategy when it comes to new releases, but I don't think it works well when you're going back, say, pre-1990, 2000 even. I used to only focus on who was in the movies that I watched, but something switched, something changed in me where I realized I got a lot more out of the hobby, out of the art form when I was following directors. Finding and watching movies used to feel like a chore, but going through a specific director's body of work is one of the most educational and enlightening ways that you can discover film. Realizing the guy who made Carrie also made hits like these.
Because I think I can play a cop. Sure, I know I can. Come on, out my goddamn door! We're gonna have any perverts here. What'd you say?
Is really eye-opening and gives you such a better understanding of who he is and why his movies are like that. The last 2 or 3 years of my personal movie-going journey has been the most fun, wild, magical, inspiring ride. And I really do feel like I've learned a lot more than I would have had I just focused on actors or, I don't know, do people follow movies by their composer? Probably. But there has been one slight snag recently. It's not every day you get to go back and witness your favorite artist's magnum opus, the thing that made them who they are, the thing that everyone talks about, the thing that is held in such high regard, and are left disappointed. It's hard to pin down who my favorite director actually is, but I've grown more and more fond of Paul Thomas Anderson with each film I've seen from him. Classics like Boogie Night, Punch Drunk Love, and There Will Be Blood are all really fantastic, but it's his newer stuff that is far more interesting to me. Licorice Pizza is one a lot of people seem to have already forgotten about, but not me. One Battle After Another is without a doubt one of the best movies I've ever seen. It solidified my thought that PTA isn't just a really, really good filmmaker. He is legitimately one of the most important artists of our time. However, there was one film from Mr. PTA that I had been missing, and I finally watched it. Released all the way back in 1999, Magnolia is a behemoth of a film, literally and figuratively. At 189 minutes, it's by far the longest work in PTA's filmography and also one of his most ambitious. The length doesn't matter, it's what's inside the movie that counts. Featuring a sprawling assortment of characters, all of whom have their own lives and aspirations and struggles and vices, Magnolia is an immense, intricate, and dense package, and it's arguably the project that really put PTA on the map. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed by it. Okay. I know this is a crazy take. Please put your pitchforks down. I didn't hate Magnolia. In fact, I think it's a pretty good movie. The best aspect of it is its direction. I think a lot of people, most people, would completely flounder at the opportunity to capture an idea this big, a cast this diverse, and this interesting and a story this large, but not PTA. Paul Thomas Anderson always excels at storytelling, and Magnolia is no exception, but yeah, I don't know, it just didn't hit. For reference, I've been watching and collecting PTA films over the last few years like Infinity Stones, going from one to the next, trying to understand who this guy is and why his movies are so critically acclaimed. I've liked each one and would go as far as to say that they're all of the same quality. Each time I go back and rewatch one, I'm like, oh no, this is my favorite. No, it's this one. No, this one's my favorite. Currently, it's a toss-up between one battle after another. I know, recency bias. Licorice Pizza and Inherent Vice. Phantom Thread was my favorite for the longest time. The way this film looks and the way the actors do their thing in this movie, it's beautiful. I think they're all beautiful. PTA's films are like my children. It'd be impossible for me to rank them. But there's always that one kid that you like to hang out with the least. And I think I'd put Magnolia in that spot. After several years and a lot of procrastination, I finally decided to sit down and watch Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia. And what did I get? A pretty good movie. Performances are off the chain. I love Julianne Moore in this, as well as William H. Macy and Philip Baker Hall. Melina Walters great too, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't the most impressed by Tom Cruise. I've known this famous Scientologist could act for a while now, but it's always great to watch him truly shine. I love Tom Cruise in Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, but I'm almost willing to say he was born for the role of Frank Mackey. PTA was really ahead of his time here, creating an egotistical, self-centered, sexist, racist, probably, guy who was told one too many times he was attractive and let it all go to his head. Tom Cruise's character is essentially a precursor to the hideous manosphere hellscape that dominates online spaces now.
You come here and you think she's your friend. They're not your friends. Do you really think that she's going to be there when things go bad? Huh, guys?
When things go wrong, do you think they're gonna be there for us? Oh, you think again.
Work and say no. You will not control me. No.
You will not take my...
It's amazing how on the nose this character is, but still wildly accurate to what we see today with people like Andrew Tate.
The British government has charged Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan with rape and human trafficking, among other charges.
The interwoven stories are really fascinating and all unfold in interesting, unconventional ways. The film looks great too, but come on, this is PTA we're talking about. Of course it was going to look great. The music also slaps. Amy Mann created a really nice, somber, angsty musical landscape to use for this film, and I think it fits perfectly with the themes and the characters and just the entire vibe of the movie. So what went wrong? For starters, I don't think the entirety of Magnolia was engaging. Entertaining, sure, but much like how it shifts focus from one character to the next, I found myself falling between being highly involved to somewhat indifferent. It may sound like I'm trying to be extremely polite even though I'm criticizing this movie, but indifferent is something I just really thought I would never feel about a PTA project. The famous writer, director, and even at times cinematographer is always reaching for something in his movies, but the joy of his work is exploring the mystery behind it all. With Magnolia, everything is kind of laid out before you. You can almost feel or get a sense that PTA is reaching for those gems here instead of letting you do the work. Magnolia is complex in structure, sure, but the themes and characters here are wearing their hearts, motives, and arcs on their sleeve. Maybe this is the point, or a point, that PTA is making. Humans are complex creatures, but we're all easily undone, oftentimes by our own free will. But where movies like There Will Be Blood and The Master feel thematically and textually rich, Magnolia feels a little bit hollow. I'm not even saying this is a bad thing, all I'm saying is Magnolia feels significantly different than its siblings. I'm going to use a word here, and I don't mean it negatively, but Magnolia has this almost amateurish quality to it. Like there's a real hunger to say and do something. PTA has kept this hunger throughout his career, but I think his earlier work had a little bit more bite. With age, PTA and his movies have softened somewhat. He's leaned more into the mysteriousness and often unintentional comedy that we all encounter in our lives, which is great.
Kinichiro, dozo, moto pancake.
Magnolia feels like PTA's teenager phase, where he's trying to outdo himself because he thinks he needs to, rather than because he knows he can. Also, this movie is just kind of long. Look, my name would come up first on the petition to make movies longer, but I can't help but feel Magnolia's length, at times, was a little long. It felt like Magnolia was shouting its themes at me rather than inviting me to explore them on my own. Lancaster Dodd is such a compelling character, and you never quite know who he is throughout The Master. To this day, I don't really know who he is. I can't say the same for Frank Mackey or Officer Jim Curring. Both interesting men, but I feel like I got them. To me, Magnolia is a movie that is less than the sum of its parts. Again, something I can't say for any of PTA's other work. The cast is amazing. The music is perfect, and the movie itself genuinely looks great. But what do you get at the end of Magnolia? What did I get? I got an emotional, heartfelt, chaotic, creative peek into the mind of a young PTA. Did I get the movie I wanted? No. Did I get a completely satisfying film? Also no. Did I get to punch out another hole in my PTA filmography card? You betcha. But like I always have said, going into a movie with any expectations is a bad idea. I think it's great to be surprised, disappointed, enlightened, overcome, or let down by art. In fact, these are the things that draw us to it in the first place. Art's ability to impact us, whether it be positively or negatively or somewhere in the middle, is the reason all this exists in the first place. I was disappointed with Magnolia, but like all art, movies aren't static images glued to your screen. They are a living, breathing body of work, a window into the mind of hundreds of people, all under the order of one crazy guy who had an even crazier idea. And I love that. The last thing that I want this video to sound like is that I'm calling Magnolia bad or that I don't get PTA. Being disappointed with something isn't an inherently bad thing, nor does it have anything to do with an artist. The fact that a movie like Magnolia exists, the very fact that it got made and has this many people in it and looks the way it does and is edited this way and it doesn't feel like it's 20 hours long is a miracle. I also really appreciate how weird this is. Even compared to PTA's other work, in a lot of ways, Magnolia feels the most alive and authentic and even raw. The way this starts with those weird little vignettes is so fun and so cool, and it's so different. I tried going into this with as little expectations as possible, but I knew with a film like Magnolia it was going to be impossible. There's just this air about this movie that is undeniable. I had hoped I'd fall in line with the people calling it PTA's best and most underrated works, but I see Magnolia as a very interesting, admirable chapter in his continuously impressive career. With one watch under my belt, I'd honestly place Magnolia last in my PTA ranking, but all his movies to me range from great to generational works of art. For now, Magnolia is in the former category, but I'm hoping with time and age, it leans into the latter one. Regardless, PTA is still one of my favorite, if not my favorite directors, past and present. I think he just makes really amazing movies. I think he's handled these shifts in his career and getting older and all of these real world things. They translate so well into his movies. There's a through line through his entire career as you watch these movies, and it's really amazing to watch him evolve and grow as an artist with each one. I think we all knew PTA wasn't a one-hit wonder or even a 2 or 3 or 4 hit wonder, but I think One Battle After Another coming out this year and doing so well and being such a good movie, getting people so excited, legitimately excited, proves that he is kind of a big deal. I can't wait to see what's next. And hey, maybe one day we'll even get to see Paul Thomas Anderson reunite with Tom Cruise and come out with another masterpiece. I don't know. But I know criticizing this movie in any way is going to be controversial. Just be gentle. Don't hurt me. Because again, I do think that this movie is good. Again, like I said, I think anyone else trying to make this movie would completely fail, but PTA somehow makes it look effortless. The reason for me even making this video is that it's not every day that you get to complete your favorite director's filmography. I've been chipping away at Paul Thomas Anderson's movies for years now, and it's been a really fun ride. I've discovered some of my favorite movies of all time, and I've also learned a lot about film and what I like about film and what excites me about it. PTA is such a visionary director in the sense that he knows how to make a shot, any scene, look like a painting. Like, look at this from Phantom Thread. Like, are you kidding me? One Battle After Another has these shots too that are just jaw-droppingly beautiful. Aside from all of the plot and the music and the acting and the story and the writing, PTA's movies are literal visual works of art. Magnolia can be put on that list too. I'm not saying that it's an ugly movie. I've said that it's very pretty. I've said that scenes look great. It just didn't feel like a total package to me. And I was disappointed because of that. Does anyone else out there encounter this where you find, your favorite artist and discover something that just doesn't hit as hard as it does for other people? I don't know. It's an interesting kind of little phenomenon thing. I'm sure there's movies out there from my other favorite directors that aren't going to hit the same. One day I will discover a De Palma film that I don't give 4 stars on Letterboxd to, but until then, they've all been hits. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really cool, fascinating to find out what you like, what you don't like, what do other people like. Why are things so popular and why are some other movies so, kind of hidden gems? With PTA, I think it's unique in the sense that everyone knows all of his movies, aside from Hard 8 probably. That one is kind of forgotten about, but all of these movies are such unique, kind of culturally defining works to the movie industry, to movie heads, if you will. And each one has this vibe, has this kind of impact that it left. Had I seen Magnolia in theaters when it came out, would I feel differently? Maybe. I don't know. I think seeing this in theaters would have been pretty life-changing. Throwing it on a random Sunday afternoon probably doesn't give you the same effect, but it still hit hard at times, just not as hard as I had hoped. But please, PTA, please do not leave movies. Please keep making them. Don't listen to me. I know I have a lot of power as a small YouTuber, a small content creator, but don't listen to me. Keep doing you. Keep making great movies. Again, because like I said, Magnolia, I still like. I just like other movies better.